Any questions about having a look down through the responsibilities, the types of things that you need to do, or how they might fit into that model of evidence gathering, building the work and the capacity of teachers and the PLTs? There must be some questions. Okay, I'm going to pick on Margaret. Margaret asked a relevant question. She said, can you have a number of, if I'm understanding correctly, Margaret, can you have, through your school, you might have a 5-6 team where you have a PLT team leader and a learning leader. So that person is running the PLTs and running the professional learning for that team. And then you'll have another person doing it at grade 3, 4, and potentially some schools do it at the P2 level as well. The answer to that is yes. And Margaret's question was also, well, what's the school improvement team? The school improvement team will consist of your principal. If you have a coach in your school, the coach will probably be on that team. And then also all of your PLT leaders and all of your learning leaders together, working together, because that will be at the whole school level, whereas the operation of the PLTs is right down at the classroom level for a group of teachers implementing practice in classroom. As you can see there are a number of things that you will have, and for both the PLT and the learning leader, the responsibilities are collecting the data, actually knowing how to analyse it, supporting your team in knowing how to analyse it, and supporting building the capacity of your teachers to actually use it in your practice. Other questions or things that you discussed at your tables about those roles? Lena.
Can I just say something, Lorraine, just with regards to the role and the responsibility of the professional learning team leader? It is actually a significant position, and when we were initially running the beginnings of the AIZ Phase 2 and we had the principals in, we really strongly emphasised the choice of the person that will be the PLT leader within the school. It is a significant position. It is a leadership position. In fact, it is somebody that needs to have some level of authority within the school, or somebody that is going to be able to drive this work within the school. They have to, as it's written down in those duty statements, they actually have to plan and present and analyse the data and set agendas and get the teams together and drive the meetings and ensure that they are focused on analysing the data, they are focused on using the data to plan the program to impact on their teaching practice and then the student learning. So we can't emphasise that enough. You, by virtue of being here, are, or we're assuming, are the team leaders, are the PLT leaders. The rest of your staff are the team members. But you are the ones that bring it all together, you agenda it. And with regards to the school improvement team, you feed back to the school improvement team, but it's the school improvement team then that has to make sure that the structures are in place in your school that allows you to do this work, to set the agenda, to set the structures, to get the meetings happening in your school. None of that will happen unless the leadership allows it to happen and the structures are in place.
And I think it is true to say, we've been visiting schools and visiting the PLTs and getting feedback and discussion, the change of practice in classrooms and the influence that it has on student learning is definitely very directly affected by the two roles of the PLT leader and the learning leader. It is significant. We've got some clips here of 3 different learning leaders, and we selected them because they've each adapted the approach to their own school context, and we wanted to talk to you about that, how it's not a recipe, that there are expected elements and expected accountabilities, but you can contextualise it to meet the needs of your particular situation. So in my very unsophisticated way here, I'll just put this on for you and then we'll have a discussion at the end of each one. This is Connie from Broadmeadows. Can you hear that?
To be involved in the actual sessions, and out of all the 3 to 6 teachers, the majority are graduates, so we had to do a lot of pre-work to get the graduates understanding what the pathways were. So when we got our results, we looked at the rockets, and we also used our evidence to agree or disagree with what the data had shown. And then from that, we grouped our kids and said these were where our kids were going to be. And then from there, we
talk about how you share the information.
okay. Well, because we had lots of graduates, and the sharing was difficult at the beginning, so we came up with a new process that we looked at the skill in general, which was say inferential comprehension, and when we talked about inferential comprehension on the spot, there wasn't a lot of feedback on what it was because the graduates didn't have that experience and weren't familiar with inferential comprehension. So we did general discussions of what you already know about it, have you heard about it, you may have done it in college or you may have seen someone else do it. And then from there, we all had like a week to go away, look up the internet, speak to our speech pathologists, speak to more senior staff, speak to team leaders to get ideas of what inferential comprehension might be. And then from that, we brought that back the following week and we used all that data that we had collated to come up with a better understanding of what inferential was. And then we looked at our kids and said, okay, well, inferential, there's lots of different strategies for inferential comprehension. What part of inferential do our kids need? Do we need the inferring of character, inferring of feelings? And that came through the reports from Patrick Griffin. And then when we got all that data, then we said, okay, this kid needs this particular strategy, what evidence or what strategies or what have we found? And then from that, we've now got a bank of ideas and strategies and resources that we can use on inferential. And the team have found that a lot better because they've gone away and had a bit of ownership instead of just on the spot thinking of what I can do. They've gone away, reflected, checked their books, asked themselves questions like, you know, does this child really know this? Good.
Connie was very, very nervous, and it was brave of her to do that. And she's made some really clever changes and contextualised things to her school. As you can see, she said that she could not launch straight into let's sit down and develop a learning log together because her largely graduates team were not familiar enough with what they needed to do. In our work part of the pie, they didn't have the depth of experience to come up with a learning log that was going to be effective and change and meet the needs of the students that they had identified. So she was quite prepared to say, we need to do the professional learning first about what inference is, then we can develop a log that is purposeful and useful. So her attitude was, I'm not just going to tick the box and say, oh, in AIZ I have to run a PLT, so I will, tick. We have to do a learning log, we will, tick. She actually made it a working and effective program by doing the professional learning first so that the learning logs could be informed and could actually make a difference. And I've visited that school when they're running a PLT, and the level of conversation and discussion of those graduates is phenomenal, and their articulation of their work and their practice is really a credit to them and a credit to Connie in the way in which she has contextualised it to her school. So you can think on that level. There are accountabilities, but it's not here's a recipe and just do it. It's contextualise it to your situation.